Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by the barn. Today we are going to be discussing something that I consider a pretty good problem with rabbits. It's how to keep your rabbit area clean. Okay. I have the Tractor Supply cages and I just have the pans that you pull out. Okay, as you can see, this is nasty. Okay. It is a royal pain to have to clean those cages all the time. And in the summer, especially, you have flies in your barn and gnats, and they lay eggs in these pans. And the eggs hatch, and you have the larvae going around in here, and that's nasty. So it is a constant battle trying to stay ahead of that. Okay. After years of having this type cage and this type pan, we are finally doing an upgrade. We have looked online and on YouTube for a system kind of like what we had in mind. I've seen several things, but for me they don't work. Okay? I don't want to have to clean poop up out of my barn floor all the time. I mean, there's always going to be a few stray pellets whenever you have animals, but I didn't want to constantly have to shovel poop up. Some people that might work for me it don't. I did not want the poop to go down into a tarp and have to pull the tarp out and take it outside and dump it. That is hard on your back. I'm not 20 years old, so I'm trying to think ahead, something that's going to be easy for me. Okay. I thought about a piece of tin and letting the waste hit the tin and go down into a tote and have to pick it up and carry it. But still, that's a few days worth of poop that you have to dispose of, and it's still heavy, which is not good on your back. So after my husband and I putting our heads together, bouncing ideas off of each other, and trial and error, let me tell you, we've come up with something that is going to work for us. It's not a perfect system, but it is a whole lot better than this for us. Okay, let me show you my first system that we did. Okay. We have our wooden stands that we have all of our cages on. Okay, we just simply took the pans out and we have bought some flashing, which is this right here. It's really thin, flexible metal that you put on roofs to keep shingles from leaking or stuff like that. That's an easy way to describe it. But it's thin, as you can see. It's flexible. Okay, so we just put that on the stands the way they were. Well, it catches a lot, but it's not perfect. Let me show you. Okay, the rabbits pee and poop over the edge, and I have pee and poop on the floor that I'm going to have to shovel up, which is something I didn't want to do. So this was the first one. After a couple of days, we realized that's not going to work. So we came up with an idea. What if we widen the stands? Okay, so what we had to do was basically dismantle every one of our stands and put them back together. Okay. We had to make this wider, and the cross beam on the bottom, and the brace. That way the cages sit on the edge, and the biggest part of the waste goes into our little chute. The pee runs down the chute, and the poop we wash down with water. Like I say, it's not perfect, but it's better. We have to go every few days, especially on the baby cages, because they use the bathroom all over the place on the rails. I get an old spatula and I just rake that off into the chute. Okay. Could I set this down on the wood and not have to do that? Yeah, I could, but I don't. Reason being, I have this watering pitcher that has a really long spout on it. I pour water in it. Hey Jackson, will you bring me that? Yeah. Thank you. I'll show it to you in a minute. But you can put water in it and go right along the edge and get the poop that stays on the side of the linoleum that we have in there. Okay. But we just put water in this and it goes along the edge and it gets a lot of it off. But I did skip a step, guys. I was talking about the flashing over there. That is heavy and it's expensive. So on these first 2 cages, I bought a remnant of linoleum at Lowe's. It wasn't the right length, but it was a test to see if it would hold up weight-wise to what we needed it to do. Well, it did. So we went back and we bought the linoleum cut to the right length of our cages. I can't tell you what length it is or what would work for you because everybody's setup is different. But we have it long enough to go on ours. We have 4 36-inch cages on these on this side. And on my other side over there, I have my small rabbits and my grow outs, and those are 30-inch cages, and there's 5 on there. But we've got the flashing up here to use as a launch for the water, and on the opposite end, it's bent to funnel the water out to go into the buckets. But we had been drawing lines, as you can see on this one, as to where to put the linoleum. Well, theoretically, folks, you start out high and you end up low. And it should work perfectly. Well, our barn has a dirt floor, and it's not level in here. And this is sawmill lumber, so it's not always perfectly straight. So that doesn't always work, putting it on the line. Sometimes it does, sometimes it don't. It just depends on each individual piece of wood and where it's sitting in the barn. So what we're going to do now, instead of trying to do that, we're going to put it pretty well level, or even I should say, on both sides. And the side of the barn over here that we're getting ready to go to, it is lower on the high end. That didn't make sense. It's lower on the end where we have to pour the water. If it was the opposite way, it would be fantastic, but it doesn't work that way. So what we're going to have to do over here is elevate the side of the cages where we pour the water. That way everything is going to run down to the bucket. But I'll show you more of what I'm talking about whenever we get into putting the linoleum and the flashing on these stands right here. It needs to come up just a little bit.
No, not as long as it's pulled tight.
Okay. Okay, on this one, guys, instead of just drawing the angle from the top down, we measured, what, 3 inches? We measured 3 inches down on this board and that board and in the center. And then drew the line from the 3 inches down mark instead of the diagonal. And here, let me have it. Everything is hanging good in the center, so fingers crossed. Okay, when we first put this on, we used staples to hold it in place. So now we've gone back with 1¼ inch screws and washers to make sure that it does stay on here stable, like we have on these right here. That way we don't have to worry about the weight of the poop and everything in here pulling the staples out. After we've got the linoleum attached, what we're doing, we've cut the flashing 33 inches. The reason we done that was these are 30 inches wide, and with the extra 3 inches, we can make the drop down here for the poop to go down. We creased it so we could make the funnel. And we have to screw it on, so that way everything will run down and go in the bucket. We have this about 6 inches away from the leg. That way there's enough room for everything to funnel down and go in the bucket. Now, all we have to do is attach it. We're putting 2 screws on each side. Okay.
That's done.
This side's done. And that's what it looks like. All that side needs is a bucket. May as well get one to put under there, hadn't I? And that's how that fits. And whenever we do the other side, we don't crease it. We just put it in about the same distance and have it in a U shape, because it doesn't have to have the funnel part per se on the other end. But the major difference is this end, the linoleum is over top of the flashing. And on the other end, the flashing is on top of the linoleum. Reason being, as you see on this one right here, everything runs down through the flashing and in the bucket. And on this side, it's at the angle and the water runs down to grab everything that's in the chute and go on out into the bucket. Okay, we attach the flashing on this side for the chute. As you can see, this is definitely not straight. It's at an angle. That way the water goes down through there a whole lot better. And this is what the inside of it looks like and the angle. So now what we have to do is measure the distance between the front of the cage right here and where the front of this one is going to be. On the cages, the ones that are facing each other, which right here's the opening of the doors, so the opening on the doors on this one's going to be facing inward as well. We have them 40 inches apart. That way we have plenty of room to get in there, feed them, and take rabbits in and out whenever we need to. But on these over here, you just wiggle through here. These are only 30 inches apart because this is the back of the cages. We like to be able to get into the back of the cages to see the rabbits. If we need to clean from back here, so we don't need nearly as much space on the back side as what we do on the front side. But like I say, we just have to measure this, get the right distance, and then once we get that distance set, we have to get the level and get our slope, because I mentioned earlier that our barn floor is not level, so we have to make this end where the chute is, where the water goes in, higher than what we make the bucket end. That way everything will flow. Okay, we have the stand finished, and what we're doing right now is zip tying the cage on. We've moved our rabbit and we put a zip tie on either side of the cage, all four sides, and pull it tight. That way we don't have to worry about her moving around, jumping, and coming loose, because honestly that would be a disaster. Okay, what we used was just zip ties that we got at Harbor Freight. They're 24-inch zip ties, and they're strong enough to hold a mama rabbit and all her babies. Okay, this right here is one of our problem areas for the rabbits. As you can see, I have hay in this one, and there's a lot of poop in there because I have a lot of grow outs in here. Okay, one of the reasons why this system works so well is because all the pee drains out of the poop and goes into the bucket. Folks, the pee is one of the reasons why you have so many flies in your barn. The poop sits in the pans, in the pee, and it kind of dissolves and it makes it smell. There's a lot more flies attracted to the pans when they have pee in them as opposed to what they are to these chutes right here that we have. I mean, yeah, you're going to occasionally see a fly, but nothing like you would see if you were seeing the pans full of poop. Okay, now we're going to pour water through this, and you're going to see what I mean as how the poop is washing down. It's going to do pretty good until it gets right here, and then this hay is going to be kind of like a stumbling block. So you really don't like to use hay unless you have to. I have one of the rabbits in this cage that was having a little bit of tummy issues, so I gave it hay. I would rather clean hay than lose a rabbit. But go ahead and dump the water. And it does take quite a bit of water to move this, folks. Okay, you can see it's starting to come down. Okay, he's pouring more water up there, but you see it's building up here where this hay starts. Okay, easiest thing to do is just move your hay, and then everything else is going to be coming on down through here. Okay? This is not a perfect system, guys. I don't know of anything that is a perfect system. After each group of babies leave, I'm going to have to take the 2 center cages out and use something that has a telescoping handle and clean this linoleum. But to me, it's worth it. It definitely is worth it. Just pick these up, take them, and dump them in the wheelbarrow. Okay, you can either dump them in a bin or on a screen to drain all the water and keep the poop to use for fertilizer, because folks, it's excellent fertilizer, and you can also sell it. Bag it up, put it in a, bag it up dry at first, bag it up, put it in one of your empty rabbit feed sacks, and you can really sell that for some pretty good money. You can make at least half back on your rabbit feed. But this will just go outside, be taken care of, and for me, this is a heck of a lot easier than trying to do the pans like we have done for the last several years. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to me, and I'll see you on that next video.